Okay, I am recording this video to demonstrate how you can draw a planar analysis of a portrait or a head in a profile view. So profile means this side view like this. So the first thing you're going to need to do is take a reference photo of yourself. This is easiest to do if you get a friend or a family member to help you. If you are doing it as a selfie, just be aware of the perspective and the potential distortion you may get if you are trying to take a selfie, and try to correct for that. If you are doing a selfie, you may need to try a whole bunch of times before you get a good selfie in profile. All right, so now that I have my selfie, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this, copy that photo, and I'm going to put it over here into OneNote. So to do this, I'm going to want to open this up and use this tool over here to insert that. So, and hopefully it'll let me, let's see, it doesn't seem to want to let me do that where I want to put it, but I guess I'll just adjust and I'll put it up here instead, and hopefully that'll work. All right, so now I have my profile view in OneNote. And notice here I also have a whole bunch of other profile views in here. Ultimately, we're going to be drawing a profile view that looks like this. We're going to be doing a planar study. But the purpose of doing any kind of planar study is that you want to better understand the actual thing that you're drawing, and how something that is an organic shape or many organic shapes and forms together, like a head, actually consists of some of these interior planes, and we want to understand better how those work and how we can show those in the finished drawing so that it looks more three-dimensional rather than flat. So this is an example of a photograph where the artist has drawn in the planes right over top of the existing photograph. Okay, so we want to first start with an underdrawing. No matter what type of view of the head you're doing, and no matter what type of drawing you're doing, you're always going to start with an underdrawing. So that consists of very basic, simplified forms or shapes, and this is what we'll be doing to start our profile. So you guys are going to be drawing on paper, but I am going to be doing my example in a digital drawing program, Mischief. I'm going to start my underdrawing using red so that you guys will have a clearer idea of what part is the underdrawing. And I might make this just a little bit darker so you guys can see it. All right, so first I want to start with this circle, just like this circle over here. And then I'm going to add kind of this triangle down here, and then I'm just making that a little bit rounder to mimic the shape of the head. And then I'm going to add the neck down here and down here. So notice where the neck appears to touch the chin and the jaw, and then where it attaches to the back of the skull, so not quite at the back. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a center line vertically, and I'm going to do another center line over here, and this is going to be our eye line. So notice the top of the head, like so. it doesn't come all the way out front. The highest point of the head is in the middle here, not at the front. So I'm actually going to put the head into a box, and this is going to be roughly square shaped. All right, so you might be tempted to kind of think of this as much more long and rectangular, but in truth, typically this is a little bit closer to square. All right, so now I'm going to figure out where that halfway would be in my square. So let's say it's right around there, and then I can use my fingers or a ruler to measure and make sure that this is equal to this. All right, and once I think I have that in the right place, then I'm going to go ahead and draw that halfway line. So that's halfway, and that's going to be my eye line. Now I'm going to divide this bottom part again in half. So let's say something like that. And that's going to be about the nose line. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to draw that through. So I'll say that's a quarter of the way up from the very bottom of my box. And then I'm going to divide this in half again, roughly, maybe a little bit higher. So that's about 1/8 or a little bit higher. All right. And now I'm going to be ready to start adding a little bit of detail. So I'm going to, again, I'm going to look. So I'm moving this up and I'm moving this up. And let's see if we can move this down here. We want to be seeing both of these at once, like so. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is draw in this the eye and brow line. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add a brow line as well, a little bit above the eye line. And that part I'm just going to eyeball. All right, and I'm also going to go ahead and I'm going to draw this ear in as well. And notice here that this measurement is going to be equal to this measurement. All right, so this is going to be about halfway from here to here, and our nose is actually going to fall outside of our box. Okay, so when I start adding this in, I can start right here, and that's going to be the eye line. And so in here, that's going to angle out slightly from the top of the nose. And then I can draw this front part here of the nose. I'm going to draw this like so. And I'm going to draw this like so. So that's going to correspond to when we did the front view of the nose, starting as a long oval and a ball, and then 2 nostrils. Okay, from the side view, we've got the long oval, we've got the ball, and then we've got that nostril out here. Okay. Now I talked about where the ear placement is. So the ear placement is going to fall along the eye to the nose level. So I'm going to put it back here. It's going to be farther back, a little bit farther than halfway back. So this was my halfway line, and so it's falling to the right side there of the halfway line. Okay, all right, so I'm going to start to work down here on the mouth. So I'm going to first say, okay, over here, notice how the mouth comes back from the tip of the nose, and this whole area here, we're going to be going for this kind of generalized angle like so. So we could even draw that like so. So starting from about halfway back on the nose, so about there, let's say, that's going to be an angle a little bit out. And then I'm going to do my lip, my top lip kind of angling back like so. So just a little oval there. And then my bottom lip kind of angling like so. But notice how this bottom lip doesn't protrude quite as much. Okay, that's important. All right, and then I'm going to do a little angle back again, and I'm going to have the chin. Okay, so a circle like we did before. All right, so now we need to put in the eye. So notice here on here, how much space is between the edge of the nose and the eye? It's about the same as the eye itself. So I could put in something like this, and then this is going to be where that eye is. All right, so you have to eyeball it, excuse the pun. But however big that eye ends up being, it's equally, this space is going to be equally as big. Okay, all right, so we're getting there. I'm going to do a little bit of erasing over here, which I may have to come over here to get to my erase tool. Okay, and I'll make that bigger again. Okay. All right. And returning over here, now we're going to go ahead and we're going to finish up the forehead and all that. So we had this angling out a little bit, and then the front part of the forehead is going to angle in a little bit. And here they have this, I'm trying to get my cursor to come in, but this guy, they have more of this curving, but we could also draw that in angles, in a series of angles, up and back. And then here, from the chin to the neck, here they have it kind of angling first down a little bit, and then up a little bit and back, or it might be straight back or even down a little bit more. All right, okay, now I think we're ready to start making this a little bit more planar. So we've got our general underdrawing, and now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to switch to a gray. So I'm not making it super heavy yet. I'm still sticking to this kind of light mark here. So if you're drawing, you're still using, say, an HB, but we're going to start to do some lines that are going to kind of stick more, that are going to be more planar. So I'm going to start again with the nose, and I'm going to define the edge of this nose with a planar line, and then I'm going to define the bottom of this nose with a line. And then I'm going to create this triangular shape on the bottom of the nose here. And I can even shade that in a little bit. That's going to be this bottom plane right here. Okay, and then I can connect that to right up here, just next to the eye. I might have to move my eye back a little bit. This angle should angle back a little bit. It shouldn't be straight up and down. See this over here? So I might have to move mine back a little. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to put this side plane in here, like so. And I'm going to then get in this angle where it's coming out a little bit here up to the brow bone. And I'm actually going to angle back And this is going to come right in line with where that top plane of the eye is going to be. So I'm going to move my eyeball back just a little bit. And that's just as well, because now I get to add a little bit more detail, like you see here, where it's curving just a little bit. So I'll make this a little bigger as well. And then I can add this curving. And this is actually going around and behind that orb of the eye, and then attaching to this plane here. All right, and now I'm going to go ahead and draw this angle up like so, and connect that out here to the brow. So we've got this triangle here and this triangle here, and then this is going to come back a little bit, and then down a little bit. This is going to be right around here. That's going to be cheekbone level, right around there. All right, and I'm just going to leave that there for now. We're going to connect that later back down here, but let's keep going a little bit on the rest of the mouth and the chin before we do that. All right, but we've got this kind of eye socket constructed, and I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to shade some of this in a little bit using a little bit of hatching. Notice how my hatching lines kind of line up with these directions of the planes. I'm going to shade this in a little bit too. All right, because all of this is the eye socket, which is going to be fairly dark. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to start putting in some of these lines of the mouth. So I've got this larger kind of mouth muscle, and that's going to come right down from that edge of the nose, which mine's a little bit wonky here. I'm going to try to clean that up just a little bit. There we go. All right, and I'm also getting this part of the lip coming up here from like the center of the mouth. And then notice here how this is coming, they've got this little dip from the front. That would be the part of the mouth that would create a dip. So like a natural view of the mouth would look, say, something like this. So it's that dip, and then when we did the planar version, it kind of looked like that. I think we did this and this, something like that, to show those side planes. All right, so that's what we've got, this dip up here. Okay, and then this angles back a little bit, and we can also create that little up and down kind of dip. All right, and then we're going to do the bottom lip, which typically is a little bit fuller. So you might want to make that a little bit bigger. And then it angles back underneath here. All right, and I'm going to shade this in because that is pretty dark. That's really a pronounced kind of area that recedes on your face. And then it's going to angle back out a little bit, but not too far. Remember, we want to maintain this whole kind of angle here. So make sure your chin isn't sticking out too far. All right, and this is kind of the front part of the chin, but then there's also a part of the chin that where it starts to angle back a little bit, and it's rounded. It doesn't just end flat, but it curves back. Okay, and now I'm going to start to do that curving part down here. So notice here how this connects to the neck there, but then here, this is connecting up to the jaw, and that jaw, remember, is going to be about right in line with the center of the mouth because it's the jaw that makes the mouth open, and that opening happens between the two lips. So there we go. So it's going to be about there. And then I'm connecting from here up to there. And then that creates in here, this is the part of the jaw that's kind of curving as it wraps underneath the chin to the neck. All right, and now I'm going to attach here to up here right next to the ear. And I can make this kind of tilting back. Here, I'm going to go ahead and look at the actual ear as I do this. So notice this is a little bit covered, but it's got kind of this overall shape. So I'm basically just drawing what I see, but notice how I am making it a little bit more angular. So not only does that fit in with some of these other kind of the whole general style we're doing, but more importantly, again, we're breaking down these curves into their component angles, and that's helping us understand them more accurately. Okay, and then you can also see in here where this whole inner part of the ear is basically set back, and this is kind of like the cusp or whatever, the rim of the ear. So all of this we could just shade a little bit. But then there are parts in here that then recess and go back in further. So we've got these kind of complex parts of the ear. So some of these areas are darker and recess more than others. All right, so we got a little more detail in there than we really needed, but could be helpful. Okay, so now we're going to go back over here. All right, and we're ready now to connect what we were doing down here at the chin and the jaw back up here to the cheekbone. So right here, we're going to connect that to here, and this defines the front plane of the face, and then where it starts to curve back and angle back over here. And this whole side of the face is sort of like a little bit more flattened over here. So rather than the head being like a sphere, whoops. Ooh, I did not mean to tilt that. Okay. Rather than it being a sphere, it should really be like a flattened kind of sphere or oval. Okay, so now I'm gonna kind of proceed with the rest of this kind of flattened part. So I'm gonna draw this a little bit more angularly than they did, but I'm just showing how this is sort of that flattened part that I was talking about. All right, and I'm going to extend the back of the neck back here, probably a little more like that, and then where that connects. So notice this was my original red line, so it's going to be about there. So I could just make this curve, or I can make it a little bit more angular, but in either case, this is now becoming a little bit firmer and part of our finished drawing. Okay, all right, I think that looks like just about everything. I'm going to go ahead now and I'm going to start to erase some of my underdrawing here. So I can get rid of some of this. And then I can also add some more shading where it makes sense to add a little bit more shading, copying what I'm seeing in this planar example over here. And some of these underdrawing lines I can use still. So notice I didn't erase all of them. So I didn't erase this because this is also being then used in their finished version, and that's helping to show kind of the different planes where the neck kind of turns. Oops. So just some very kind of rough hatching and cross hatching You guys can, of course, shade this a little bit more carefully. Okay, notice how here they've defined that plane a little bit where it goes back. So I also defined that with an extra line there, just copying this here and shaded that. And I can also then shade some of these sides of the face. So as you're adding shading, you might then also have to go back and add a little bit darker lines around that because you don't want those outlines in this case to disappear. So with a more realistic drawing, you do want those outlines to disappear into the overall shapes. But here, the whole point is that we want to really clearly define the planes, and we're doing that with these lines. So, so if any of that is in danger of clouding your lines, then you'd want to darken them up. So I could, for example, switch to this darker pen tool, and you guys might want to switch to your ebony pencil or 6B or what have you to define some of these lines a little bit more. So I could go back and define some of these lines as I wanted to. But that is basically my finished drawing. So I'm going to go ahead and end the video, and you guys can get to the process of finishing up your drawing as well. All right, happy art making. Feel free to contact me with any questions that you might have.